Hello, welcome to Bits and Biology. My name's Liz, and today I'm going to do a solo playthrough of Genotype, a Mendelian genetics game. I'm not going to do a full rules teach, but I will point out the differences between the solo game and the multiplayer game. In the solo game, the solo opponent is controlled by this 9-card deck of Automa cards. And we will go through the anatomy of those cards as we go through the first round of the game, because it'll make a lot more sense then. We still start out the same way as in a multiplayer game. We both start out with 3 action markers, 3 research goal markers, and 1 coin. To get set up, we're going to deal first 3 cards to the nursery. So in a 1 to 2 player game, there are 3 cards in the nursery, and since there's these 2 extra spots on the board, I am going to put the deck there and then have room for the discard pile. And we'll do the same thing with the tool shed. Lay out 3 cards and then have a little room here for the deck and the discard pile. We deal out 3 cards to me, so that's the same as the multiplayer game. In a multiplayer game, each person starts with 3 pea plant cards. The solo Automa starts with 2 cards in the solo game, and then deal out a tool shed card to the solo player, but not to the Automa. They don't use the tool cards at all. So let's see what we've got here to start out with. So when I'm looking at these cards, I get to keep 2 of them and have to discard 1 of them. And what I'm looking for are 2 cards that have at least 1 or 2 things in common. And so as I look at these, they all 3, we can see that they all 3 have yellow pea pods. 2 of them have white flowers and yellow pea pods. That's great. These 2 are both tall with yellow pea pods, and none of them have seeds in common. So the reason I am looking for what they have in common is at some point in the game I'm going to want to set research goals where I will get points at the end of the game according to the phenotypes on the plants that I'm able to harvest. And so I'm already trying to think towards that. So I think I want something that I can harvest after the first round of the game, and I only start out with 3 of these dice slots. So unless I get an extra temporary dice slot in the first working phase, I'm only going to have 3 places to put dice. And since we only start with 3 action markers, I don't really want to spend 1 of those for a temporary dice slot. So I'm definitely going to choose, well, I have to choose 1 of these with 3 traits on it. In fact, I think I'm going to choose both of these that have white flowers and yellow pea pods. And the reason for that is both of those are recessive traits. And while they're harder to come by, they will get me more points at the end of the game if I set those as research goals. So yellow pods would be worth 3 points each at the end of the game, and white flowers would be worth 3 points each at the end of the game. If I could also go for yellow pods and tall plants. The tall would be worth 2 points each at the end of the game. They are easier to get, but both of these are homozygous actually for tall, so that's not all that easy to get. So I'm going to stick with these 2 cards right here. I'm going to discard that one, and I don't know that it really matters which one I plant first, so I'll just plant that one first. So I get to plant 1, I get to hold 1 in reserve. Let's see, tool card we got, hand lens. I don't think I've gotten this one before. This one will give me 2 coins when I take a set parent genotype action, which is good. Coins are hard to come by in this game, so I might make use of that during the first or second round. The 2 pea plant cards dealt to the solo Automa aren't really as consequential which ones they are, except that they're both relatively high pointers, so that's not great for us. The solo Automa comes in 3 levels of difficulty: easy, standard, and hard mode. We're going to be playing in standard mode. which makes it a little bit harder. This is not an easy AI to play against, and in fact, out of, I think I've played around 8 solo games, I've won 2 of those, and I'm waiting to win 3 of them before I move up to hard mode, but so far, Johan, the name of the solo AI, he's beat me more often than I have beat him, that is for sure. So we'll see what happens today. Let's talk a little bit about the solo AI. So he does come with, in addition to his 9-card deck, these 3 double-sided cards that show you the solo play setup. So everything that I've mentioned so far, if we were playing hard mode, he would also start with an assistant. So we will not start with an assistant. We're going to play in standard mode. He does have some cardinal rules. So this is his garden here, and it needs to be arranged vertically, which is why I have it off to the side of the board. New plants that he gains will always be added to the top of his garden. When he has completely validated a plant, he will harvest it immediately. Normally, a player would need to take the gardening action to be able to harvest a plant, but Johan does not need to do that. He can have a maximum of 4 plants in his garden. If he has a full garden and he's supposed to draw another pea plant off the deck, he would actually validate a trait instead, and he does that by starting at the lowest, with the lowest traits first. So those are these cardinal rules that are on this card here. The other 2 cards just show you what happens with Johan during each phase of the game, and they're quite useful. So this tells us what happens during the first phase of the game with Johan, and it tells us that he uses a pair of automa cards. One of them will be an action card, and then if that action requires us to make a decision about a genotype, then we will draw a second card called a support card, and that'll inform his gene choices. And if on the off chance, and we'll cross this bridge when we come to it, but if it does show a de novo mutation symbol in that bottom right corner instead of a gene symbol, then we'll actually use the gene letters on the action card. So it tells you that on here. On the other side of this, it tells us about something called the automa phase. So normally in a multiplayer game, after the working phase, you would go straight into the plant breeding phase, which is where we roll the dice and then draft the dice. But in the solo game, there is an automa phase after the working phase where we just have a little bit of bookkeeping to do with Johan. So when we do that the first time, I'll walk us through that. Then this side of this card tells us what happens during the plant breeding phase, and that is that we are going to use his automa deck to make choices about which traits he is going to validate. And then finally, during the 3rd phase of the game, the research upgrades phase, again, we'll use his automa cards to make a decision about which research upgrades he purchases, assuming he has the coin to do so, and he usually does. He's usually not short on coins. In the easy mode, he would purchase 1 research upgrade, and in the standard and hard modes, he will purchase 2 upgrades, if, again, assuming he can afford it. So this is our reminder about that. Let's just set those off to the side. The one I use the most is this, what happens during the automa phase card. All right, I think we are set up. We have coins out next to each of the Punnett squares. We have the abacus set up so that all of these abacus markers are on the dark starting positions that tell us the price of each of these research upgrades. I have 2 action markers in each of our colors. I'm going to be playing as purple. Johan will be playing as turquoise. These can be purchased during the research upgrades phase. I usually try to purchase one of these early. The last game I played against Johan, he actually thwarted me in that, and I think was the reason that he won by such a wide margin. So fingers crossed he doesn't do that again. We didn't lay out the assistants. Let's see who we have. Brother Leopold, who lets things cost less money. Sister Maria, who, let's take a look at these. So here we have Brother Leopold, and he says when you're paying for something, you can pay 1 coin less, but you do have to pay at least 1 coin. So he never reduces the cost below 1 coin. Sister Maria, I actually had in the last game that I played. She allows you to mutate a die that you take during the dice drafting phase to any trait that it still has to match. You know, if it's a flower color die, it still has to match one of the flower color genotypes, but you can change it I actually didn't end up using her. I ended up hiring her, but not using her in the last game. So I'm not too impressed with her, but maybe she could come in real handy sometimes if Johann is really manipulating parent genotypes over here, which he does a lot. He just didn't happen to in the last game. This is Brother Alypius. He's pretty good. He allows you to take an extra card when the player takes a gardening phase, and that's actually quite useful. So I do like to get 1 or 2 assistants if I can get them during the first or second round of the game. The game's played over 5 rounds, and these are, once you hire them, they're permanently part of your player area. So if you can get them in rounds 1 or 2, you can get the most use out of them. But again, we also want to prioritize getting an action marker. So those are some of the thoughts that I have going into this first working phase. I believe we are all set up. So for my first action, let's see, let's take a look at these tool shed cards. This is a dissertation card. This allows us to set a research goal for just 1 coin and without placing an action marker, which is quite useful. I'm not really thinking about I'm thinking about research goals a little bit. I kind of want to get more pea plant cards before I really start thinking about that, but I could get that tool card and keep it for later. The pollen brush is pretty useful. It allows you to validate all copies of a genotype that you have, that you validate during the plant breeding phase. And the watering funnel, so this one lets you validate a trait immediately when you get it. And so you can't hold that one in reserve. The nurse reaction is another thing I could do. So actually, these all have yellow pods. 2 of them have white flowers. That's something I might think about doing. Oh dear. What do I want to use? A lot of times what I do first is go to the treasury to get 2 coins. I do have a way to get coins with the hand lens if I want to set a parent genotype, and that would actually get me 3 coins with 1 action, so that's not bad. I think what I want to do, I think that's what I want to do. I want to set a parent genotype. So I am going to use this hand lens. And what this does is it gives me 2 coins when I set a parent genotype. So I am going to set probably either flower color or pod color. Maybe let's take a look at what Johann has over here. So he wants big G, big G. So maybe we can mess him up a little bit by going to pod color. And I'm going to set one of those parents to be little g, homozygous, little g. So now there's actually, Johann, no possibility of him getting big G until that changes. So I get that coin, and then I get 2 additional coins. I'm going to use my hand lens, and I have to discard that. It's a one-time use only. So that's great. Johann, let's take a look at his card. Oh, well, he's going to go to the treasury, so I can't go there anymore. On his Automa cards, if we look up in the top right corner, that tells us the action that he's going to take. This is a treasury action, so we don't have to draw a support card. The arrows we don't pay attention to during the working phase. These will come into play during the plant breeding phase and then again during the research upgrades phase. So he is going to use one of his markers to go to the treasury and get 2 coins. So he's already starting to amass his wealth. What do I want to do next? I think I want to snag a couple of these. Now that I've set this pod color, so I'm going to go to the nursery and take these 2 cards right here because they both have white flowers and yellow pods. And so I'm already starting to think about research goals that I might set later as long as Johann doesn't beat me to it. He's really good at doing that. So I'm going to get these 2 flowers. And so what I'm hoping is to be able to harvest this one after the first round and be able to plant 2 of these cards during round 2. So, and maybe even get an extra plot. I guess we'll see how much money I have. All right, for Johann, his next card, he's actually going to take the gardening action, so this gives you a place to put his action marker. And so we'll set it off to the side here, put his action marker on it. And it tells you that when Johan takes the gardening action, for each assistant that he has, he's going to validate one trait. Well, it's only the first round, so he actually doesn't have any assistants yet. He hasn't had the chance to get them. If we were playing hard mode, he would already have an assistant, but he doesn't, so he doesn't get to validate any traits. But what he does get to do is draw a P card and plant that in his garden. So we'll do that. Wow, he has got some high point cards, Johan. High point cards. One thing to notice, we do not refill the nursery after cards are taken during the working phase. That does not refill till the end of the round. Okay, so for my last action, I've already got coins. I could take a first shift action. That would give me first choice of particular dice, but that's always a little risky because if the genotype that you need doesn't come up, you've kind of wasted that action, and I only have one card over here. So, I mean, it's tempting to take, for instance, the first shift for either seed shape, flower color, or pod color, but if I don't roll what I need, then I've wasted that action. It does give me a coin if I were to do flower color or seed shape, but again, I'm a little reluctant to do that, so I think I'm not. I think what I'm going to do is, I was thinking of setting a research goal already, but that cost me 2 coins, so I think what I'm going to do instead is go to the tool shed and take this dissertation. And what this allows me to do is, without using a worker, it allows me to set a research goal, and it's only going to cost me 1 coin. Now the choice I have is, do I want to hold on to this and maybe do it later, or do I want to just do it now, just in case Johan also takes a research goal action and steals that out from under me. You know, I think I'm just gonna, I really want to get an action marker and or an assistant. Decisions. I kind of want to hang on to my coins. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna risk hanging on to my coins so that I have a few more options during the research upgrades phase. It's probably a bad decision, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, Johan has one more action he can take, and he is actually going to go to university. He is starting to validate his traits already. It's going to cost him 1 of his coins to go here, and when you go to university, you get to validate a trait immediately. And the way that that decision is made for Johan is we start from the bottom and we validate the first unvalidated trait we get to, which in this case is a big T, big T. No, I forgot about that, so it probably won't even matter to him that he can't get big G over here, because it'll be able to be validated at other points in the game. Okay, so we have finished the working phase. Normally we would go into the plant breeding phase next, but we are instead going to go into the automa phase since we are playing a solo game. If Johan had placed a first shift marker over here, we would move that down to the second shift. He didn't, so we don't have to worry about it. And then for each assistant that he has, he is going to validate a trait. He doesn't have any assistants yet, so he won't do that. But then he does get to draw a P card, P plant card. So he's, dang, Johan is getting a lot of high point cards. I'm not really a fan of that. Okay, if he had an extra plot, 1 or more of these extra plot tiles, he would be able to draw a P plant for each of those. His garden is currently full, so instead of drawing a plant, he would actually validate a trait. But he doesn't have any extra plot cards yet, so we won't do that. He does get 3 coins since we are playing in standard mode. And then we get to shuffle his deck. Okay. Then we go into the plant breeding phase where we're actually going to roll all 20 of these beautiful dice. And I actually have a dice tray that we can use. And it's a little cramped for space over here, and a dice cup that I'm going to put all these dice in. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take out the de novo mutations because these are going to get re-rolled. And what that is simulating is the fact that the mistake in the DNA, the change in the DNA, might get repaired. Wow, we have a lot of de novo mutations. for 7 de novo mutations. And so we'll re-roll these, and that's going to simulate the fact that they might get repaired. All right, did I already say that? I think I already said that. All but one of them get repaired. Okay, so I actually had put a post up on Board Game Geek because I was really impressed with this mechanism, actually. This mechanism of sort of simulating the DNA repair that happens after mistakes have been copied into the DNA. And one of the designers responded to my post and actually said his wife is a PhD geneticist and that the rate at which the mutations get repaired in the game is actually pretty close to that of pea plants, which I just find remarkably cool. So anyway, all but one of them got repaired, and so we put that in this de novo mutation spot, and then we will put out the rest of these dice according to these Punnett squares. So we look here, these have a 1 on the die face, and that is big R, big R. And we have a 2 and a 3. Those are both going to be heterozygotes. We can see they are big R, little r, big R, little r. We don't have any homozygous recessive, which is bad for us because we need that. And there's no de novo mutation, so we're going to be out of luck as far as being able to validate all 3 of those traits in the first round. That's unfortunate. I probably shouldn't have, I don't know that I had a big choice. Can't remember which, oh, I think I started with these 2. Yeah, I didn't have a big choice. Those were both probably not the best cards to start with. We'll see. Okay, so then we're going to put out the rest of these dice according to the Punnett squares. I forgot to mention the premise of this game is that we are researchers. Either you can kind of choose, I've heard it both ways, following in the footsteps of Gregor Mendel at the monastery where he worked, or maybe you're an assistant to Gregor Mendel. He did this research over the span of about 8 years, from 1856 to 1863. Mostly the theming is pretty good in this game. It's not fully integrated into the mechanisms, which I think is fine. I think they've done a really good job with balancing, integrating the theme into the mechanisms and maintaining good gameplay. So I think they've struck a really nice balance here. I will point out, though, that Punnett squares are not something that Gregor Mendel used. These were created by a guy named Reginald C. Punnett in about 1905 to show the distribution, these Mendelian trait distributions from different sets of parents. So Mendel didn't use these. He actually just used straight math. And in fact, he was the first person to determine that there are mathematical patterns to inheritance from one generation to the next. So pretty remarkable that he was able to do that when he did. Okay, so we actually have to pay a little closer attention here. 1 and 2 are big G, little g. So we don't have the possibility of big G offspring. And 3 and 4 are going to be little g, little g. So, and then we come down here, and we actually also don't have any big T's. So we would have been out of luck, actually, no matter. So these were my 2 starting cards, the one that I planted, and then this was the other one, did have a big T on it. So we're kind of out of luck for little r, and big T. So I guess it didn't matter which one I planted, and it just goes to show you I probably didn't pick the right 2 plants to start out with. Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. So we're done setting out the dice. Now we go into the dice drafting, taking turns doing that. I didn't mention earlier that the solo player is always the first player in the solo game. So every round I will be the first player. Now do remember that when we get to the research upgrades phase, that goes in reverse turn order. And so Johan will always be first when it comes to research upgrades, which sometimes does not turn out well for us. But we do get first pick of the dice, which was another reason I wasn't terribly worried about taking a first shift. In a multiplayer game, that first shift is actually quite valuable. So I need little r. I can't get it. I do need little f. There are 2 of those, and little g, and there's 3 of those. So I'm going to go for little f. Another thing to look at is, actually I should look at this first. what does Johann need that I need? And we actually, well, we both want little r, little r. We're both out of luck there. But he doesn't have any little f, little g, little g. I think I snagged all of those. So we're not in danger of him taking those, so that's great. We're just both out of luck with little r, little r. So I'm going to take the little f, that's the recessive for flower color, so white flowers, and validate that trait. And then Johann is going to draw one of his cards from his deck, and now we're going to take a look at these arrows here. When a double arrow points to a particular genotype, Johann, if he can, will take 2 dice that match that genotype, and if the single arrow is pointing to a particular genotype, he will take 1 die for that. And then we can see here that we actually also have a de novo mutation die shown on this card, and so he will look for a de novo mutation die in that color. And if he can, he will take it and validate a corresponding trait working from the bottom up. There doesn't happen to be one available, so he will take a coin for that instead. So let's just take care of that first. I mentioned Johann's very good at getting coins. So the double arrows pointing at big F, little f, there's only one of those, so he'll take that one. He has no place to put dice over here, so we just set those aside. I'm just going to put them in the dice cup for when we roll those again, and he will validate that trait. The single arrow is pointing at big G, which he can't get because we made it so he can't get that. So that's great for us. It's not great for him. Nothing happens. He doesn't get compensated for that. And we took the coin for the de novo mutation die, so we are good there. I am going to take a die for little g. Actually, you know what? Knowing that Johann doesn't need little g, what I'm going to do, because he can take de novo mutation dice, is I'm going to take this de novo mutation die. Now you may be saying, well, why are you taking that? You don't need it. It's true, I don't have a plant height trait that I need to validate, but I have 3 dice slots available, and I only have 2 traits I'm going to be able to validate. And if I take this de novo mutation die, it allows me to either take a coin or take another die and validate any plant height trait. So what I'm going to do is take this and take a coin. So it's a good way to get money. Again, coins are a little hard to come by in this game. So then Johann's going to go, and his double arrow is pointing at big G. Again, he can't get that, so yay for us for thwarting him. He usually does that to us, so the tables are turned, Johann. Big T, little t is where a single arrow is pointing, so he'll take one of those and validate this trait. And this is a good thing to look at. On this card, in the bottom right corner, there is a de novo mutation symbol, but there is no picture of a de novo mutation die on here. And so that de novo mutation symbol does not come into play in the plant breeding phase. So we ignore that. All right, my turn. I'm going to take this little g die and validate that trait. So I'm sad that I can't validate all 3 traits in the first round. That was hopefully my goal. It's something I do try to do, but it doesn't always work out, as you can see. All right, Johann gets 3 turns during the plant breeding phase. So we'll take his 3rd card and line it up over here. He's looking for big R, little r, and he gets it. So, oh, and he takes both dice because it's his double arrow that is pointing to that trait. So he validates that. And then big G, little g. So he will take one of those and validate that trait. So he's off to a roaring start. He's been able to validate 2, 3. He validated 4 traits during the plant breeding phase, and then he had 1 validated from before. We were only able to validate 2, but we did get a coin out of the deal, so that's pretty good. All right, now that we are done with the plant breeding phase, I don't have any more dice slots available. Johann is out of turns. Now, he could go again if he had one of these extra die slots. So for each one of these that he has, he will go again. So this solo AI actually does a really good job of mimicking some of the things that other players do in a multiplayer game to either get in your way or, as we'll see, drive up the price of things or take cards that you need. Right, so now that we are done with the plant breeding phase, we're going to go into the research upgrades phase. And Johann gets to go first. We're going to draw one of his cards, And we're going to take a look at where that double arrow is pointing. So the double arrow here is at the bottom left of the card, and that's going to, line up with hire an assistant. Oh, he's going to drive up the cost of the assistants. He might take what we wanted. So he's going to pay the 2 coins. We're going to move the abacus marker up 1, so now it's more expensive to hire an assistant, and we will draw a card to see which assistant it is that he hires. And what we're doing is we're looking in this bottom right corner at those 3 dots. And we're looking to see which dot is colored in. It's the one at the far right. And so he is going to take, he's going to take Brother Alypius, the one who would let us draw an extra card. I was really eyeing that one, actually. So that's too bad. He doesn't actually use the ability of the assistant, so we're going to turn this card over and display its backside over in Johann's play area. This will allow him to validate additional traits during the gardening phase, the gardening action in the working phase, and then also during the automa phase. It will let him validate a trait. All right, so now I have a decision to make. I have 5 coins. I am going to save a coin because I really want to validate that trait. I'm going to take the university action in the next working phase. So I'm going to keep a coin back and do that first in the next working phase so that I can get there before Johann does, so that I will be able to harvest this pea plant. So really I only have 4 coins to spend. It would cost me 3 to hire an assistant. But here's the thing. If I hire Brother Leopold, it would only cost me 1 coin then to either get a new plot or get another dice slot. Unfortunately, I have to make a decision between hiring an assistant and getting an action marker. I'm not going to be able to do both. Unless I could do both. You know what? Okay, this is going to be risky because it could be that Johann gets here before I do the university action in the next working phase, but I can spend my 3 coins to hire Brother Leopold. So we'll take a look at, so I'm going to spend my 3 coins. I'm going to hire Brother Leopold. We move this up 1. And what that's going to allow us to do is pay 1 fewer coin each time that we are spending coins in this game. Now the cost never goes below 1. Never goes below 1. So we'll put him over here. We're getting a little crowded over here. Put him in our play area. Now what I can do is spend these other 2 coins to get another action marker, because that is an excellent thing to do in the first round of the game. So Johann's only gone once. He gets to go twice in the standard game, and in hard mode. In easy mode, he only goes the 1 time. So he goes again, and oh, look at that. He's going to hire another assistant. Now the cost is 4, and he does have 4 coins, so he will do that. And normally I would draw a support card to see what assistant he hires, but there's only one possibility. You cannot draw assistants from the face down stack when you're hiring assistants. You can only choose from those that are face up, and there's only 1 left. So we're going to take this one. This is Sister Maria. She lets you mutate a die during the plant breeding phase, but again, the AI does not use the ability, so we're just going to turn that card over and put it down in his play area. So he's taken both of his turns. I am going to use my 2 coins to hire an assistant. Normally that would cost me 3, but I do have Brother Leopold who's going to reduce my cost by 1. I'm going to get 1 of those action markers, and that will drive up the cost of action markers up to 4. All right, I'm out of money. Johann's taken both his turns, so now we can do end of round cleanup. It's called the reset phase. We will put the action, the round marker up 1. We're going to move all of these abacus markers down 1. We're going to collect our action markers from the board. So now I have 4 action markers, and Johann still only has 3, so that's good for us. We're going to collect all the dice. And collect Johann's cards and shuffle his deck. So his deck gets shuffled at least twice during the game, once at the end of the automa phase and then once at the end of the round. We will refresh the coins. One thing that does not happen during the reset phase is we don't do anything with these parent genotype markers. Those stay put. The only way to get rid of those is by taking that set parent genotype action. We're going to discard all of the tools and the P's, and if there were any assistants, we would discard those, and then we're going to refresh them. Lay out 3 new assistants. Who do we have? Brother Franz, Sister May, and Sister Elizabeth. I'll talk about Sister May in a second because she's actually changed, I believe, from the first edition to the second edition. We'll lay out 3 new pea plants and 3 new tools. Trying to look at what we have here. Okay, I think we've done everything that needs to happen. Shuffled his deck. Okay, so now we're going into the second working phase. I want to take a look at these assistants again because, like I said, I like to get 1 or 2 of them in the first couple of rounds of the game if there are good ones out there. So here, I'm not so sure. Here we have Brother Franz. He's pretty good. What happens with Brother Franz is you pay a coin during the plant breeding phase and you get 2 extra dice slots. So he does cost a coin to use, but it's a pretty powerful action. Sister May, let's take a closer look at Sister May. If you look at this, this says that when you validate a particular genotype, you get to validate all copies of that genotype. Notice how there is no symbol on this card restricting its use. What I did read the other day on Board Game Geek is that now you can only use her once per round. In the second edition of the game, they made that change. I think that that is reasonable because this is a very powerful card. And so if I do choose to get Sister May, I would abide by that rule. Here we have Sister Elizabeth, who lets you 1 time. So this is that symbol for 1 time during the round. After you use it, you turn it sideways. 1 time during the round, you can validate 1 copy of a trait you have set a research goal for. So that's actually pretty good. So I don't know. I'm a little torn on the assistants. They're not great, but they are good. If I look down here at the tool shed, I have a flower pot. This is going to let me, this comes with a pea plant, and so this acts as an extra garden plot, but you draw the pea plant off the top of the deck, so you don't really have a lot of control over what pea plant goes in there, but it is an extra spot for a pea plant, so that's great. The grant lets you pay 2 fewer coins for a research upgrade. That's great, except I already have Brother Leopold, so I'm not so interested in that. The rake lets you mutate a die without using a de novo mutation die, so that's actually quite useful. That would have been really useful in the first round when we didn't have a little r to choose, but there were other seed-shaped dice out there that we could choose from. Okay, so what am I going to do for my first action? I don't have any coins, and I need coins because I really want to validate that trait. I want to spend 1 of these to take a gardening action. I want to spend 1 of these to take the university action. With the other one, I need to get coins. And I think, what's the best way to do that? I'm going to want some coins during the research upgrades phase as well. So maybe, although I could set a parent genotype. You know what? I'm going to do that because sometimes Johann will beat me to it, and then that would be terrible. So I'm going to set this parent genotype. All of my flower color traits are little f right now. So that's fabulous. So I'm going to set this to little f, that parent homozygous recessive, and I get this 1 coin. So I might, if Johann doesn't beat me to it, take a treasury action next to get 2 coins. Just so I have some coins to spend during the research upgrades phase. So Johann gets to go next, and he is going to set a parent genotype. So that's what we see up here. He's going to do it on the horizontal, for the horizontal parent, and he is going to set a big T. So what I'm looking at here is in the bottom right corner of the card. We can see a big T there. So for the horizontal parent, he is for plant height. He's going to put his marker here, take the coin, and set that to big T, big T. So how has he messed us up? Well, he didn't actually. So we still have the same probability of getting big T, little t, and now we actually have a greater probability of getting big T, big T. So yay, Johann actually helped us. He never helps us. That's great. Okay. For my second action, I'm going to try and come up here to the university to try and, so I can get there before Johann. So I get my 2 coins. For Johann's second action, he is going to take a first shift. So that's one of these spots over here, and he's going to do it for flower color. Oh dear. So he will get first choice, not just for flower color actually, because we're going to end up moving his marker down here during the automa phase, but he will get to go before us unless I take a first shift action. So he's going to go there. There's no coin for him to take, so he doesn't get that. Oh, whoops. Oh, I didn't actually see that, so that's good. Because it's my turn. Although I already know what I was going to do. I was already planning on coming here to the university and spending my coin. And I do have Brother Leopold who lets me spend 1 fewer coin to pay for things, but this only costs 1 coin and I can't pay 0. So I have to pay my 1 coin. I will take a trait validation marker and validate that little r. All right, Johann, for his third and final action, is going to, oh dear, he's going to set a research goal. Okay, we're hoping he does not set it for white flowers or yellow pea pods. Dun, dun, dun. What does he do? Short plants. Okay, great. I mean, not great, because he'll get points at the end of the game for it, but, so he's going to, oh, he can't go there. He only has 1 coin, and setting a research goal costs 2 coins, so he can't do that. So what I did draw as a support card, we're now actually going to use as his action, and he is going to, it's not going into focus, he's going to take the tool shed action and come over here. So we draw a support card to see which card, and he's going to take the one all the way to the far right. Now he doesn't actually use this, he's just going to discard it. Okay, I'm going to take a gardening action. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a card, and then I'm going to harvest, and then I'm going to plant. So I think, what do I actually want to do? I want to try and get an action marker in this next round, or an assistant, but probably an action marker. So I'm actually going to, I have enough pea plants, I'm actually going to draw this grant card, because right now an action marker costs 3. Now I could get it for 2, and I do have 2 coins because I have Brother Leopold, but the thing is Johann gets to go first in the research upgrades phase, and I'm a little, still a little bit scarred from my last game against Johann, where he, in the first 2 rounds, beat me to the action marker spot, drove up the cost beyond what I could pay. So I'm a little scarred from that. I'm going to take this grant so that I can pay 2 less for something in the research upgrades. And then I'm going to harvest this plant here. And I'm going to put mine sideways up here so that we can keep them separate from Johann's. And then I'm going to plant 2 of these cards. So, what do I, doesn't, well, I was about to say it doesn't really matter, but it does. It's going to be, actually, it's not going to be any easier to get big T, little t than it is to get big T, big T. So maybe what I'll do is just plant, I have 3 dice slots. I kind of want to be able to harvest these right away, so maybe I will do this one that only has 2 traits and one that has 3 traits. That's 5 traits. Could get Brother Franz. I'll have to think about this. I do want an action marker though. Okay, so I'm going to plant both of these. We'll see how it goes in my garden. So those are going to be hard to validate. The T trait, the plant height trait, isn't going to be hard to validate, but the other ones are going to be a little hard to validate. I need to jump on those research goals soon, because I don't want Johann to get there first, and he almost did. Right? He was just short by 1 coin to be able to, I mean, he wasn't going to take one of the ones I want, but I'm always scared when he goes over there. Okay, so that was my last action. Johann gets 1 more action. He is going to go, is that true? No, he doesn't get another action because he only gets 3, and I forgot to put his marker out for the tool shed action there that he took, where he took the rake and discarded it. I was thinking I had more actions than him, so that makes sense. Okay, so now we go into the automa phase. He does have a marker on a first shift, so we're going to move that down to the second shift. It does mean that he's still going to get to go first since I didn't take any first shifts. He's going to validate a trait for each assistant that he has. He has 2 assistants, so he is going to validate 2 traits. And we work from the bottom up, so now he can harvest this pea plant. It is fully validated. I'm going to put his completed plants over here. We move down the cards in his garden, and then now he has room for another plant, and in the automa phase he does draw a plant. So he has 9 pointer. He's doing pretty good on the points there. He doesn't have any extra plots, so he doesn't get any extra cards or get to validate more traits. He does get 3 coins. And we shuffle his deck. And that completes the automa phase. Okay, so now we go into the plant breeding phase. We're going to roll the dice. Pull out the de novo mutations. All right, make a little room here to re-roll those to simulate them being repaired. So we got 7. That's 7 again. We got 7 last time, I think. De novo mutations. Let's see how many get repaired. Wow, we have 4 that did not get repaired. So only 3 out of the 4 got repaired. So we're going to place these 2 for pod color and 2 for flower color. Interesting. So now we'll place the rest of these according to those Punnett squares. So here's an interesting fact about Mendel, because that's what you get on this channel, little bits of biology, right? And I just love the story about Mendel. That was why I had to back this game on Kickstarter. Wait, let's see, what do we have here? 1 big G, little g. 4s are little g, little g. I think that's good for us. Yeah, that's good for us, if we can get there before Johann does. Anyway, I was going to say, so Mendel actually entered, or I'm not really sure what the right term is, but he sort of took that first step towards becoming a monk at the Abbey of St. Thomas in Brno. It was then Moravia, now it's the Czech Republic. That was in 1843. And normally, he was an Augustinian monk, and normally the Augustinian, you would usually call them friars. So I looked into this because it drove me a little nuts that you would often see Mendel referred to as a monk and sometimes referred to as a friar. But it turns out both those terms were correct at different points in his career. And so a friar is somebody who is more out in the community, and the Augustinian monks were often out in the community. They were teachers in their community, and they tended to the sick. The priests tended to the sick. Where does this go? Little f, little f. And anyway, Mendel wasn't very good at tending to the sick. And in fact, I have a quote here that his abbot, what was his name? Abbot Knapp, that he actually had written a letter to a bishop talking about Mendel. And so he explained to them, and this is a quote, that he lives a very retired life and is very diligent in the study of the sciences, but he is much less fitted for work as a parish priest, the reason being that he is seized by an unconquerable timidity when he has to visit a sickbed or see anyone ill and in pain. Indeed, this infirmity of his has made him dangerously ill, and that is why I find it necessary to relieve him from service as a parish priest. So Mendel just wasn't cut out to be a priest who tended to the sick, so he was relieved of those duties. Luckily, Abbot Knapp, I guess, had some compassion for that. Let's see, where do these go? Big T, little t, t, little t. And so he did try his hand at being a teacher because he actually excelled in his studies. He did very well in university. He came from a really poor family, and one of his sisters actually gave up a good chunk of her dowry for him to be able to attend university because his family wasn't the most wealthy. But when he went to go take his teaching examination, he actually failed that twice. Not because he didn't know the subject. He knew the subject, but it was his nerves that just got the better of him. And so I do have another quote that I just found and really liked, so I have it here. And this was a letter that was written from one of his fellow friars to another fellow friar, and says, so this is a quote, that although he drew easy questions, apparently he had easy questions, anyway, to continue the quote, he felt ill during the written examination and as a consequence was unable to write. He seems to have problems with his nerves generally, since he endured several such insidious attacks already. One has to feel sorry for him since his homework, etc., was graded as excellent, but formalities are formalities, and in this case, it was not possible to continue. And then it goes on, afraid that further attacks might continue, he returned home without accomplishing anything. And the story goes that he actually rescheduled that exam, but then didn't show up to take it. So he wasn't able to be a teacher because he didn't get his teaching certification. He couldn't tend to the sick. And so he would have been called a friar in all of those instances because he was out in the community, but he sort of transitioned to a monastic life of contemplation and research, and luckily his abbot Knapp, actually was really interested in inheritance, mostly that had to do with sheep breeding. So he really encouraged Mendel to try to figure out what was inherited, what was passed on, and how it was passed on. And so that's how Mendel got into the pea plant research business. Not that it was a business, but you know what I mean. So anyway, back to where we were. We've got all the dice laid out, and now we're going into the plant breeding phase. I usually would get to go first, but Johann has a second shift marker out here, so he gets to go first. So let's see what he's going to do to mess us up. He's going to take 2 big F dice, except there aren't any, so he's out of luck, and a little t, which he's also out of luck. That's unusual. Okay, so I need little f. There's 3 of those, and does Mendel, does Johann need any of those? Oh, I've played 8 or 9 games of this game, and it just dawned on me that the solo AI is named Johann. That was Gregor Mendel's given name when he was born. He was Johann Mendel, and Gregor is actually his religious name that he took when he entered the abbey at St. Thomas's. Oh, that's so funny. I just now realized that. All right, where were we? I was deciding what dice to take. So Johann does not need little f, little g. Ooh, there's only 2 of those. But he doesn't need that either, so he's not going to take those from us. Big T, little t. Wow. Which he doesn't actually need either. So we're not in any danger, so I'm just going to take this little f. So what's my plan? What is my plan? I guess to take these homozygous ones while I can, because they're usually harder to come by. So I'll take the little f, and validate that. Johann is going to go a second time. So he's looking for big R, and he gets it. And so he will validate that trait. And big G, which doesn't exist because we thwarted him there, so yay. And he does not have any de novo mutation dice on here, so he's good. I am going to go next for little g, and validate that. And then Johann takes his 3rd turn, and we have big F, little f, which he doesn't get. That's great, and the double arrow is pointing at a trait that's already validated, and he does not have a de novo mutation die symbol, so wow, that's unusual. This bodes well for me, although the tide could turn at any moment. The last game I played with him, he didn't validate traits very quickly at the start of the game, but that quickly turned around about mid-game, and he beat me by quite a lot. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I guess I'll just take another little f, to validate that. And there we go. So now I just have 2 traits left to validate before I can harvest these pea plants. They're not great points, but they're quick turnaround, so I guess that's good. So Johann has taken all 3 of his turns, and all my dice slots are full, so we're done with that. We go into the research upgrades phase. Johan gets to go first, and he is going to take a new plot. So he'll pay his coin, drive the cost up, and he will take one of these new plots. This is going to allow him to get additional pea plants during the automa phase. Okay. And now what do I want to do? I only have 2 coins. I think I need to get an action marker. I think I need to. So I have, oh, but wait a second. I have this grant that I had got. So an action marker could only cost me 1 if I use the grant, and then I have 1 coin left that I won't be able to hire an assistant, so that's fine. I'm not terribly excited about those, although there's actually a couple that are pretty good. But anyway, but I could get a dice slot or a new plot, so I think that's what I want to do. I'm going to use my grant. I'm going to discard that. It's subtracts a cost of 2, and that's going to let me get an action marker for the cost of 1 coin. So I will do that. That gets my last action marker. Then Johan's going to go again, and he is going to get an action marker. Oh, whoops. I should have driven up the cost. So he has to pay 4. He's not going to get an action marker. He only has 3 coins. Woohoo. So he draws another card. He still wants an action marker. He is pretty persistent, but he can't have it. He doesn't have enough coins. So he's going to drive up the cost of a dice slot for us. So he's going to take a dice slot. He's going to pay 1 coin, and we move the marker up 1, so now it costs 2. We're going to put that over in his play area. So now he will be able to take an extra turn during the dice drafting phase of the plant breeding phase. So he has taken both of his turns. I do have 1 coin left. I can get either a new plot or a dice slot, and I think I want to get a dice slot. So I'm going to just put that right there on my player board, pay my 1 coin, and I only have to pay 1 because I have Brother Leopold, and then I will drive up the cost. Okay, so I'm out of money. Johan's taken both of his turns. Now we do the end of round cleanup. Whoop, moved that the wrong way. We go into round 3 next. Move down the abacus markers. That's what I was thinking of when I did that. We're going to discard these pea plants, discard our tools, and discard the assistants. Sorry, guys. And 3 other ones. We have Father Omari, Father Edward, and Sister Anna. Pretty good ones. And then 3 new pea plants. Wow, twice in a row now. Oh, we do get little g. No little f's, though. We might try and snag that, I think. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a seed bag. Oh, we did get a seed bag. There's plenty of those in there, though, so not too surprising. But we've got a if we take first shift, this is a pocket watch. If we take first shift, we would get 2 coins in addition to whatever coin we collect, if we collected one. Seed bag lets us draw 5 cards from the deck, not from the face-up cards, but 5 cards from the deck and take 2 of those, discard the rest. And then the flower pot we've run into before, so I won't explain that again. We're going to collect all of Johan's cards and shuffle his deck. And then we will collect the action markers and collect the dice. And I think that is it. Action markers. Okay, so now I have all 5 of my action markers available to me in the working phase. So that's great. Good to get those early. I haven't always focused on that, and I think it's a bad decision when I don't. So Johan has his 3. He got an action? No, he didn't. He couldn't afford it. That's what it was. He couldn't afford the action marker. Woohoo! Good for us. He's still down to 3. So refresh the coins. All right. So now we go into the action phase where I am going to, man, I really want to validate those traits, but I don't think, I have those dice slots. I don't have any coins. I don't know that I can do that. Oh, man, it's going to be a waste. Hopefully there'll be some de novo mutations. So what do I want to do? I kind of want that seed bag. So, but I need coins. Maybe I will come over here. Do I want to set a parent genotype? I don't think so. First shift? Maybe I should do a first shift. I do need little g, so I think I will take a first shift and get that coin for that. Okay, then Johan's going to go. Oh, I needed to get more coins to set research goals. Okay, well, Johan just reminded me of that because that's what he's going to do, is set a research goal. And oh, ouch. Oh no, okay, good. I was thinking he was stealing one of ours. Wow, it's little t again. That he couldn't get last time, but now he can because he does have 2 coins. So he's going to put his marker there, set the research goal for little t, and pay his 2 coins. So you know what? I am going to use this dissertation. He just scared the daylights out of me. I'm going to use this dissertation to spend my one and only coin to set a research goal, and I think, let's see, I think we have equal numbers of little f and little g, but there's a little g out there so that I might get. So let's do it for yellow pods, little g. We discard the dissertation. That's a one-time use. That doesn't count as an action. That's just something you can use at any time. So I think I need more monies. I'm not worried about getting assistance anymore. It's getting a little late in the game for that, but I do want to get a new plot and a dice slot possibly. So I will need to get new plants. But I'm not really excited about what's out there. There's one of them that I'm excited about. Let's look at these T's. I do have, oh, there's not big T out there. R's. Don't really have a lot of R's. Little r. There's another little r there on a 12 pointer. That's pretty good, actually. I might, well, I think I need money. Oh, I think I go to the treasury. I think I just go to the treasury and get 2 coins. All right, Johan is going to set a parent genotype on the vertical, and he's going to do it for little r. Oh no, oh, that doesn't affect us yet, but it could. So he's going to do little r on the vertical. He actually I think he just made a decision for me. So he's setting that parent genotype. He gets that coin. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to take a nursery action, and I'm going to take these 2 cards. So I'm taking this one because it has yellow pods, little g, and I set that already as a research goal. Now this one doesn't have little g, or little f, which is unfortunate, but it does have little r. I do have one other of those, so I might set that as my 3rd research goal. It's a possibility, but if anything, if not, oh, this one needs big R. Oh, wait a second. Nope. I don't want to do that. Little t, he got little t. I'm not taking the nursery action. We'll see what comes out in the next round, maybe. So backing that up, maybe what I'll do is come here and get a seed bag. Yeah, maybe I'll come here and get a seed bag. I think that's pretty good. It's going to let me draw 5 cards and keep 2, and I like that. So we'll hold off and wait and see what we're able to get for research goals, maybe, which I could set right now. It would not allow me. I do have 2 actions left. Oh, but I would have to pay, no, I wouldn't. I'd only have to pay 2 for a research goal. That's interesting. Okay. But I think I took, so it's Johan's turn now. He's going to go to the university, come up here. He's going to spend his last coin and validate a trait. So he'll validate this little t. And then my action, I guess I want another coin. So, or do I want to set a research goal? I want a new plot and right now they're only costing 1, but if Johan gets there first, it would still only cost me 1. So I think I need to come here and go get a first shift. I want to go here. Big T, what does he need? Big T, little t, he doesn't need that. He is going to get another card, though, during the automa phase, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Did I already do it for G? I already did it for G. So I guess, yeah, I want to do a first shift for T and take that coin. Okay, Johan does not have any more actions, so for my last action, I had a plan. I swear I had a plan. Oh, it was to come over here and set a research goal for 2 coins, because normally it would cost 3, but now it's only going to cost me 2 because I have Brother Leopold, and I'm going to set that for little f before Johann steals it out from under me. Okay, then we go into the automa phase where we are going to shuffle Johann's deck before I forget. That's one thing I'm good at forgetting at the end of the working phase. We do that, and he doesn't have any first shift markers. He is going to validate 2 traits because he has 2 assistants. So he'll validate that big F, little f, and the big G, big G. He's going to harvest this plant because it is now fully researched and move down the plants in his garden. So he's already got 19 points harvested. He is going to draw a pea plant, and now he does have an extra plot. So he would draw another pea plant, except his garden is full, so instead he will validate a trait. He's going to validate big F, little f. So he finally got a small pointer. Good for us. That was the automa phase. Oh, he gets 3 coins. Conveniently, I almost forgot. Haha. We shuffled his deck already. Okay, so now we go into the dice drafting, or the plant breeding phase. Roll the dice. Pull out the de novo mutations. 1, 2, I was hoping for more of them because I only have 2 traits to validate, and now I have 4 dice slots. I wasn't really thinking, was I? So there are 6 of them. Let's make some room here. I'm hoping none of these get repaired. Let's see what happens. Oh, well, actually pretty good. 4 of them did not get repaired. I'm happy with that because I might be able to take a couple of them if Johann doesn't get there first. We have 2 de novo mutations for pod color and 2 de novo mutations for plant height. And then let's see what else we have. Whoops, that was a 3. Let's see. We have, so big R, little r is going to be our 1s and 3s. Big R, little r. And then little r are our 4s and 2s. Okay, and then we go into flower color. These have all been manipulated now, so it takes me a little more brain cells to remember what goes where. 1s and 2s are our heterozygotes, so we only have 1 of those. And then little f are the remainders. So we don't need any of those. Big G, little g for 1s and 2s. Oh, we don't have any of those. Good thing I don't need any. The rest of them are all little g, which I do need. Okay, and then we have all 4s. What is that? Big T, little t. Oh, that's great. Oops, over here. For our plant height. That's fantastic. So you got no fun facts about Mendel that time because I had to use too many brain cells to put out the dice. So now we go into the dice drafting phase. I have first choice here, so I'm kind of looking at what I need and what Johann needs. He doesn't need anything I need, which is unusual and fantastic. And so what I'm going to do is take one of these de novo mutation dice, because there is a big T, little t, right? Big T, little t, and little g? Yeah. So I'm going to take one of the de novo mutation dice before Johann does, so that I can just take a coin for that, is what I want to do. And then for my other first shift, wow, that worked out really well. I'm going to take another de novo mutation dice. I am getting all sorts of lucky. That's fantastic. And so I'll take another coin for that. So that takes care of my first shift. Nobody has second shift, and so then now we go into the third shift, and since I'm the first player, right, I have the first player marker, I'm the first player, so I get to go first. So I'm going to go for big T, little t, and validate that. Okay, and then Johann is going to go, and he gets to go, he does have an extra dice slot, so he gets to go 4 times. So he's looking for big R, little r, for his single arrow. And then his double arrow is pointing at nothing. He does have a de novo mutation symbol, and there is a die, so now you get to see how this works. So this is for pod color. He is going to take one of these plant validation trait validation markers, and he's looking for any pod color trait. And here we have big G, so he will validate that, despite our best attempts to thwart him. Okay, and then I get to go, so I am going to take little g. and validate that. So I am fully validated. I'll be able to harvest that in the next round, round 4. Okay, but that's not much. I'm going to definitely need to get an extra plot. Okay, so now Johan's turn. And big R, little r. Yep, he gets that. Oh, and he gets both of them because that's his double arrow. And so he will validate that. And then his single arrow is pointing at nothing, and he does not have a de novo mutation symbol, so he's out of luck there. I'm out of dice slots, so he's going to go 2 more times. His arrows are pointing at things that are already validated. He does not have a de novo mutation symbol, so that's fantastic. And then we come over here, and again, his arrows are pointing at things that are already validated, so great. But he does have a de novo mutation symbol. It is for the orange dye for flower color. There is not one, so he gains a coin instead. Okay, so he has taken all 4 of his turns. I'm out of dice slots. Now we go into the research upgrades phase. Johan gets to go first. What am I hoping? I'm hoping he doesn't get, I don't know what I'm hoping he doesn't get. I'm hoping he doesn't hire an assistant. He is going to get his action marker. It will cost him 3 coins. So he spends 3 coins and drives up the cost 1 and gets one of these action markers. Then I get to go, so let me think. I've got 3 coins. I definitely need a new plot, but even if he drives up the cost, it's still only going to cost me 1. And now that I'm looking at how many plants I have not yet harvested and the fact that I'm not going to be able to do my next harvest until round 4, Father Edward is looking better and better, because that essentially allows me to get 2 new plots in this round, although a new dice slot would be good too, because I have this 10-pointer I'm going to need validated. I don't know what to do. You know, I am going to get a dice slot for one coin and put that over here at the other end of my player board. Can you see that on the camera? I think so. Yep. Okay, so that's good. Drive up the cost 1. So then he won't be able to, he wouldn't have been able to afford it anyway. I didn't have anything to worry about. Okay, well, there you go. Worried for nothing. And he is actually going to go for a dice slot, but he only has 1 coin, so he can't do that. So we draw a different card. And he wants, for that one, another dice slot. Can't get it. Too poor. He wants a new plot. He will get it. I should have driven up the cost of the new plot since I knew, man, I was not paying attention, because he can afford it now because it's only 1 coin. And now he drives the price up to 2. But I can still get a new plot because I've got Brother Leopold, who reduces my cost by 1. And so I will get a new plot and drive that cost up 1. And then I have 1 coin left. I don't need to validate traits in the next working phase. Do need to set a research goal, but I can get new coins in the research phase, or in the working phase. So I think I'm going to hire an assistant, and so I'm going to be able to use my seed bag. I got to think this through. I'm going to be able to use my seed bag to get 2 new plants. I have 1 plant. I have, and Father Edward comes with his own pea plant. So yes, I am going to get Father Edward. So what he does, let's see if I can get this into focus. Pay my 1 coin, drive up the cost. So let's see, can I focus? Father Edward is going to come with his own pea plant, and that's that infinity symbol there, is he will always refill once a pea plant is harvested. Now we're probably only going to be able to use him 1 time, but that's okay. I think for 1 coin that's totally worth it, because I wouldn't be able to have afforded another extra plot. So, and he comes with a pea plant, so that's actually quite valuable for us. So I'm going to have to use that seed bag next time. Okay, so I've spent all my money. Johan's out of turns, so let's shuffle his deck and do a little end of round cleanup. So Mendel, famous for the work that he did with pea plants, and why is that? Because, well, at the time that Mendel did his research, there was a lot of talk about how traits were inherited. Mostly it was the plant breeders and the animal breeders who were interested, like sheep breeding was a really big business at the time. And so that was one reason Abbott Knapp was interested. I think he had some connection to sheep breeding, was my impression. And so he wanted Mendel to find out what was inherited, how it was inherited. Third question there that I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe somebody will put it in the comments. And anyway, so Mendel, it took him a while to figure out what study organism he was going to use. He thought about bees, he thought about mice, but he finally settled on pea plants, and it took him a while to figure out the traits that he was going to use. He started by looking at a bunch, I think it was like 28 or 29 different varieties, somewhere in that ballpark, and finally narrowed it down to 7 different traits that he looked at. So we're only looking at 4 of them in this game. We're looking at seed shape, flower color, pod color, and plant height, but he looked at 3 others. And in addition to that, and he was the first person that really approached this problem from a mathematical perspective. Not only that, he was the first person to really look at one trait at a time, individual traits, rather than sort of the whole organism. The big idea at the time was blending inheritance, sort of like mixing paint colors. Like if you have red paint and white paint, you get pink paint. So the only problem with that is that then the trait would be forever changed, and we know that that doesn't happen. So he, with his plant breeding experiments, disproved the blending hypothesis because he showed that traits were inherited as like little particles. He called them factors, and what we now call alleles, right? That each individual gets, for every trait, he gets one copy from one parent and one copy from the other parent. And so factors, he called them factors. We call them alleles. And that's what you see here in the letters, right? These are the different factors that he talked about. Big R, little r, big F, little f. He actually used A's and B's, but same idea. Anyway, so that's what he's well known for, is he figured out that inheritance follows mathematical rules, actually, he was the first person to do that. Determined that genes come in pairs. He didn't call them genes. They weren't called genes until the early 1900s, but he figured out that these things that offspring inherited came in pairs, and he presented his results of his research in 1865. Unfortunately for him, he presented his research to a horticultural society, and I think what I read, I'll tell you about a book if you're interested in this topic, but what I read is that people showed up thinking they were going to learn about hybrid plants, sort of like monster plants, and he got up there and spouted a bunch of math at them, and people's eyes probably glazed over, and they didn't know what to think of it because he was the first person to do that. So there you have that. It took another 16 years from after he published his research before he was really discovered by 3 different botanists independently in 1900. Anyway, that's a story for another day. We're finished with our end of round cleanup. I think I got all the things. So now we go into the working phase. And I determined that I need to do a gardening action. So I'm going to set one of those aside. Let's see what we got out here. We did get a little f, but that's it. So I do want to use my seed bag. I may as well do that first off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's terrible. This is all dominant traits. It's not what my research goals are. That's not great for me either. This one has 1 that I have not yet set, but I'm thinking about. Oh, these are all terrible for me. Okay, so now we're just looking at, Father Edward. Okay, I don't know which one of these was the top one, so I'm just going to mix them up. There we go, and put one of these on Father Edward. Okay, so he comes with his own plant, so there we go. So back to these. So I wanted, I think the little r, I get to keep 2. Oh, I get 1 more to choose from. Still not great. So what else? So what do we have? Maybe we want a mix of traits so they're easier to validate. So we have that one already on Brother Edward. I get to keep 2 of these. I want this one. We can't get big G. That's not even a possibility right now. We can't get big F. Basically, These are all absolutely terrible. We're going to have to take off those. We're going to have to spend some actions to change some of this. So let's think about this. I do want this card. I'm just going to use your space for a minute here, Johan. I do want that card. So it has big G, so I'm going to have to use an action to come over here and remove that parent genotype. So I could, which other one? Oh, if it needs big T, that's not too bad. Little t is definitely out. So I might need to use 2 actions. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is terrible. I might not be able to validate these. So what's the most likely to be able to validate? This one has 3 strikes against it. This one has 1 strike against it, 4 strikes against it, and 2 strikes against it. So I guess it's down to these 2. This one only has 2 traits, so it's more likely to get validated. I do have 5 dice slots now, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what in addition to that one? I guess just this little one. I think that's my best choice. I know it's not worth very many points, but as far as actions I'm going to have to take to undo these parent genotypes, I think that's my best choice. None of these were very good, so there you go. Okay, so I chose 2. I had 1 already. Why did I have 1 already? I can't remember why, but I did have 1 already. So there's 2. So now I have 3 that I'll be able to plant. Okay, so now I can take an action. I know I'm going to take a gardening action, but I don't have to worry about doing that right away. I do need money. I need to change parent genotype, so I need to get there before Johan does. So I need to do G. So we'll come here and just remove this. That's all I'm going to do is just remove that and take the coin. So Johan is going to go to university. I think he's done that. I think that's the 3rd time he's done that action. Oh, he doesn't have a coin. Did I forget to do? Nope, he spent all his coins during the research upgrades phase. He can't go to university. So instead he'll go to the treasury and take 2 coins. That makes sense. Sometimes he acts like just a normal human would in this game. It's pretty fun. Okay, I am going to set another parent genotype. So if I look at these cards, I need big R. So I'm going to come up here and remove this one and take a coin. Okay, and then Johan, why do I only have 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, then there's 5. Okay. Johan's next action is going to be to set a parent genotype. So hopefully we beat him to it. He wants to, okay, so here's a good example. So this is his action card. He wants to set a parent genotype, but the support card says, it has that in the bottom right corner, it has that de novo mutation symbol. So we actually go back to his action card and we use this symbol here. So he's going to set a parent genotype for flower color. He wants to set big F on the horizontal, but actually he's not going to be able to do that. I'll tell you why here in a moment. If we take his action marker over here to flower color, why do I have 2? Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, to flower color, he wants to set it horizontal for big F, but there's already a parent genotype marker there, so he actually just removes that for an action. So I think that's good for us. It's not bad anyway. Okay, so then my turn. I am going to, I think I want to take a first shift. So I'm looking at the cards that I'm going to have planted, and I know I'm going to need 2 big R's and a little r. And so I'm going to come up here. Oh, I don't get a coin for that. I already took the coin. Oh, I'm sad about that, but I think I have to do it anyway. I think I have to take that first shift. Just because I really need a lot of those. So then Johan is going to go to the nursery and take 2 cards. So we turn over a support card and we see he wants that middle card. So he would add that to his garden, except he's full up. So he discards that and validates a trait instead. So he validates this one. And then he's going to discard a card from the nursery. So we move these down. Now we resolve his things in order, so he doesn't get to take this card. This gets discarded. That's the way it is spelled out in the rules. Then for my action, I think I need to take another first shift. So I need 3 different F genotypes and a G genotype. I already took that coin, but I haven't. Oh, Johan should have taken that coin. Okay, so maybe I don't want to take a first shift. Well, there's nothing else that gets me coins. So, oh, you know what? I think I need to set a research goal before Johan does. What research goal do I want to set? Probably going to regret this, but I'm going to take the gardening action first so I can just get a handle on what's going on over here. So, oh, whoops, first I have to pick a card. I don't need any more pea plants, and what I need is now here anyway, so I'm going to look down here. That flower pot's tempting, but I don't know if I have enough dice slots for all this. But the graft knife, actually, I like this. The graft knife lets me draft an extra die one time. And it can be any die, so that's pretty good. The pollen brush lets me validate all copies of a particular genotype that I have, but I don't think I'm going to have anything. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll have 2 copies of big F, little f, and I'll have 2 copies of big R, big R. But that's it. So that's not really necessarily worth it. If I had like 3 or 4 of a particular genotype, that would be worth it. So I think I'm actually going to take this graft knife. Oh, I used this seed bag, so let's discard that. Okay, so I'll take the graft knife, and then I get to harvest both of these plants. So we're going to put these over here, and then I get to plant all 3 of these because now I have an extra plot. So do that and that. So now I have 4 plants going. I do have 5 dice slots, and now I have a graft knife that's going to let me draft another die. So I'm just going to put that up here. When I use it, it's one-time use. I'll have to discard it. Okay, Johan has 1 more action marker. Okay, so, oh no, he is going to set a research goal. So for one thing, he's driving up the cost of it, which is terrible for us. He's going to spend 2 coins, and he's going to do it for big T. That's not terrible for us. That's not one we were going for, so he'll set that one there. I wanted to set a research goal too. I might just wait now because I'm not entirely sure which one I want to set. I have already set it for white flowers and yellow pods, and if I look here, I do have tall plants. 1 tall plant. 1 tall plant. I have 2 other tall plants. Oh, he already took that, so I can't look at that. I have little r, but I only have 2 of those. But it is worth 3 points. What else do I have over here? Big F, little f, big G? No. You know what? I could go either with the big dominant F or the little r. The little r gets me more points, but what do I want to do? Maybe, let's see. Maybe I just want to take a first shift action again. I do need a big T, and those are a little harder to, well, they're not much harder to come by. But I do need 2 of those, so maybe we will take a first shift because Johan does need that, and it gets me a coin, so that's not too bad. All right, and we'll set a research goal in the 5th round. Okay, Johan does not have any more action markers. I'm out of action markers, so now we go into the automa phase. He does not have any first shift markers out. He will validate 2 traits because he has 2 assistants, and that's going to let him harvest this bottom 12-point plant. Okay, and then he is going to draw a pea plant card. Let's move these down. Whoops, get back on there. Those down. He draws a pea plant card, and then he does have 2 extra plots. He does have room in his garden, so we resolve these one at a time. So the first one he will draw a card for, but now he's full up in his garden, so his other extra plot he's going to use to validate a trait. All right, and that lets him harvest this plant. Okay, and then we move down the plants in his garden. Okay, so he has harvested now 5 plants, And I have harvested, here's mine, 3 plants. Where are we sitting at in points? I should probably look at that. I've got 17, 26. No, I don't want to look at that. He's got 33, 42, 51. He's got 51 points to my 26. That's a little depressing. Okay, we need to get these plants harvested, validated and harvested. And we need to get another research goal set because that's going to be worth some points at the end. Okay. So now we have not done all the automaphase. He gets 3 coins, and we have to shuffle his deck. I tell you what, this little card that helps you to remember what goes on in the automaphase is oh so helpful. I'm glad they included it. Okay. Now we go into the dice drafting, or the plant breeding phase. Roll the dice. Let's see, remove the de novo mutations. Wow, we actually have a fair number of those. What is that? 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 seems to be a popular number for de novo mutations on the first go around. We're going to re-roll those to see how many get repaired. And wow, all but one of them got repaired. So we do have a de novo mutation for pod color. Now we're going to put these out. So for seed shape, we're back to our normal heterozygous cross, 2 heterozygous parents. So the 1s are homozygous dominant. The 4 is homozygous recessive, which I think we need, right? Little r? Yes. And the 2s and 3s are heterozygotes. That is nearly a perfectly statistically perfect distribution. Then we come down here to flower color and pod color. Those are both going to act normal. I don't know that I have too many other fun Mendel facts. I will say that you probably already remember this from high school biology, but he came up with 3 laws of inheritance. That is one of the first things that students learn in my genetics class. Let's see, 2 and 3. Basically, it's things I've already said that, offspring inherit 1 copy of each trait from each parent. These are big T, big T. And the combinations of those traits is usually random. Now, there is an exception to that if big T, little t, big T, little t, big T, big T. If the alleles that contribute to those traits are on the same chromosome, then things can get a little bit off of Mendel's rules. Big G, little g. And, oh, these are normal. So, oh, wow. Oh, they're all heterozygous. I think that's bad for us. Yeah, it sure is. We need little g, and big G, big G. So I wish that I had put a first shift marker here because I really am going to want that de novo mutation. Okay, then. So we go into dice drafting. I've got first shift up here. I do need this little r, but is that, and that is something that Johann needs, so definitely I'm taking that first. And then I come down here to plant height, and I need a big T, and a big T, little t, and he needs big T, so I guess I'll take one of those. Big T, and validate that. Okay, so that takes care of the first shift. Nobody's got second shift marker out, so then I get to go first because we then go into the third shift. And so what else do I need that there's not much of out here? I need this de novo mutation. So I'm going to take the de novo mutation and take one of these dice. It's going to cost me 2 dice slots to get that little g, but I think that's important because that's one of my research goals. So, so that's how that's going to work. I do need little f. He does not. Oh, he does need little f. Okay, wait, back that up. Put that back. I'm going to leave that de novo mutation there because it took up 2 dice slots. Remove my trait validation marker that I put. I need little f before he takes both of those because he could have a double arrow that points at that. So we definitely want to validate that because this plant has 2 things that I have research goals for. So I really want to make sure that that gets fully validated so that it can be harvested. Now we go to Johann. He gets 2 double arrow pointing at nothing, little arrow pointing, or 1 single arrow pointing at little t. He's out of luck. There's no de novo mutation symbol, so I didn't have to worry about that. I have 3 dice slots left because I have this graft knife. So I could use 2 of those to get little g. I will have another, let's see, 1, 2, 3. You know, I could also just use university in the next research phase to do that, but that would take a coin. So let's do, oh, there's no big G's either. Big T, little t. He doesn't need that, does he? Okay, so yep, I guess I'm taking this de novo mutation and doing that because I need 2 things that aren't out there. And so I'm going to validate that. Okay, Johann's second turn. He is going to 2 little, oh, I'm so glad I took that before he did. His double arrow is pointing at little f, but there's only one for him to take because I took one earlier. He's going to validate that. And then he has a single arrow pointing at big G, little g, so he'll take one of those, validate that trait. He also has a de novo mutation die on here. There are none for seed shape, so he gets to take a coin instead. My turn. I do have 1 dice slot left if I use my graph knife. So there's no big G. There is a big T, little t. Are there any other? I might take that big R, or maybe I'll do this one because he automatically refills with a pea plant once that is harvested. So maybe I do want to get on the road to harvesting that. So I will do that. Oh, and I guess I was actually supposed to take this when I took another die, but it worked out okay. So that was big R. So I'm going to validate that on, I think that was Father Edward. And then Johann gets to go for a 3rd time. His double arrow is pointing at a trait that's already validated. His single arrow is pointing at nothing. There is a de novo mutation symbol for plant height die. There isn't one, so he is going to gain a coin instead. Now I am out of dice slots. Johann has taken his basic 3 shifts, but he does have this extra dice slot, so he gets to go again for this top plant here. We just start back up at the top. So he wants little r, but there is not one available because I snagged it first. And then he wants big G, and there's not one available, and there's no de novo mutation, so he is out of luck there. Okay, so now we're done with dice drafting. We go into the research upgrades phase. Johann gets to go first. He has plenty of money. He is going to hire an assistant. Which one? He is going to hire the one in the middle, Sister May. She's the one where the rules have changed and you can only use her now once per round, but he doesn't get to use her abilities, so we turn it over and put that over here for him. And then I get to go. I do have 3 coins, and I think I need a dice slot. It's only going to cost me 1 coin to get an extra dice slot. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Okay, we'll put it down here. All right, and then Johann gets to go again, and his double arrow is pointing at action markers, so it's going to cost him, oh wait, I paid my 1 coin, drive up the cost of the dice slot. What did he get first off? He hired an assistant. Okay, whoops. But now he is getting an action marker, so it'll cost him 3. Let's not forget to drive up the cost of that now. Not that it matters, this is the last action marker. So he gets his last action marker going into the last round. I do still have 2 coins. I'd like to keep 1. Oh, let's see. I should have. Kind of want to validate some traits. I might want to keep my coins, but at the same time, if I get dice slots, it won't be such a big deal. I would love to be able to harvest. Actually, I'll be able to harvest in the 5th round, and I think that'll be okay. I think I want another dice slot, and it'll actually cost me both of my coins because the price is now 3. I do have Brother Leopold, so now my cost is only 2. I drive up the cost by 1 and get another dice slot. So now I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 dice slots. That's great. Okay, now we are done. Johann's had both of his turns, and I'm out of money. So now we go to end of round cleanup. We move up the round marker to the 5th round. We're going into the 5th and final round where we will not have a research upgrades phase. We will just have the first 2 phases, and then we'll go into a harvest. So shuffle Johann's deck. And I'm just going to copy together. I'm going to discard all these cards and have plenty of distance. I got there. Got 3 weakness. Oh, two so that's it. We need to get our action markers. So we now both have all 5 of our action markers. I need to make sure that I set my final research goal. Oh, look at that. I didn't really think about it. Johan has set 2 of his research goals as well. So he might set that 3rd one. We want to beat him to it. We need to figure out where we want to set our research goal. Okay, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 traits to validate. I'm going to get rid of these dice too. I discard my graft knife. That is a one-time use. Okay, so I think, and refresh the coins. Okay, coins are worth points at the end of the game. They're worth 1 point each. Okay, and so I get to go first. I am going to get some money. I was about to set a research goal, but I need some money to do that. So it's possible that Johan goes here and sets a research goal. He's got the money to do it. But it would still only cost, no, it would cost us 2 if he drives up the price. Do I want to just go to the treasury? I think I really need to take a first shift for something. Does he need big F, little f? He doesn't. Big R, big G, little g. He does need big G, little g, and big G, and I need those 2. So I am going to go there and take a first shift for pod color. Johan is going to go to the tool shed. And he is going to take, what's he going to take? He is going to take far left, graft knife, and just discard it because he's mean like that. My turn. I am now I will go to the treasury, actually, and get 2 coins. I have a bit of a plan. Oh, I need to go to the nursery. Okay, well, already done. Johan, oh no. Oh, I should have set a research goal. I wasn't thinking. That's terrible. Okay, so what is he going to set a research goal for? Big G. I don't think that's one we were looking at. So that's good for us. So green, he's setting his final research goal for pod color. Well, I'm going to go to the nursery before he gets there, and I want this. I know it's a 12-pointer, and it's very unlikely I'll be able to validate it, but I want to get that. And what else? I guess, I definitely won't be able to also validate that. Maybe I should just draw one for random, because I don't think this has anything I want to set a research goal for. I'm just going to draw one for random and see what happens. Let's see. Boom. Oh, wow, that's great, except that it's an 11-pointer, and there's really no way I'm going to be able to validate all of those traits without, for instance, a graft knife. And he already went to the tool shed, and in a solo, 1 to 3 player game, there's only 1 spot for the tool shed, so that's terrible. So actually, we're going to need to validate. We need to validate some traits. Oh, but we're in the 5th round? We're in the 5th round. I need to do a gardening action. So I need to probably validate. I've only got 2 action markers left. I think I messed up by going to the treasury. Anyway, Johan's going to go to the university, which is what I was planning on doing. I should not have gone to the nursery. That was dumb. That was dumb. Oh, if I lose, that's going to be why. Because we're in the 5th round. I didn't really think about that. I didn't think that through very well. But I did plan to go to the university, but now Johan's going to do it. I was going to go twice, and I still need to set a research goal. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Apparently, I suddenly forgot how to play this game because I have made terrible, terrible decisions. Anyway, he's going to validate a trait. I think he paid his coin, so I'm going to set a research goal. It's going to cost me 1 coin. Oh, he went there first. Because didn't he set? Yeah, he did. Okay. Set a research goal. So it's going to cost me 2 coins to set a research goal. Normally it would be 3, but I do have Brother Leopold. And I'm going to set it for, what's this got on it? Yeah, I never should have taken that nursery action. That was the dumbest thing I've done. So we're looking at either dominant for flower color and seed shape, so we can do either of the seed shapes. I have 2 round seeds, 2 wrinkled seeds, and 2 purple flowers, so it doesn't matter, but wrinkled's going to get me the most points, so we'll do that. And that's little r. So I was talking about that earlier in the game. Okay, so Johan has another trait marker. He's going to set, Johan, don't mess this up. He's going to set a genotype marker for little r on the horizontal. He's going to come up here. He's going to take the coin. Man, I have made so many mistakes in this last round. I think he thwarted us. Well, no, that's not terrible. He thwarted us for 1 we probably weren't going to be able to harvest anyway, so not too bad. Okay, so I've got 1 action marker left. So here's the thing. I went to the nursery. That was pretty much a waste of time. But, you know, I'm going to take the gardening action anyway because it's going to allow me to harvest this and put another plant there. This is probably a remarkably bad idea. So I just only get to plant 1 of these. So let's see. Either one of these has 2 traits that I have set research goals for. So which one am I most likely to be able to harvest? This one is slightly more likely because of what Johan just did with the parent genotypes. So I'm going to plant that one. Oh, and I was supposed to draw cards, so I'm just going to draw this graft knife. There we go. Oh no, he's going to set another parent genotype for, wait for it, T, big T, on the, Johan, he just made it so that every single offspring that for plant height is going to be homozygous dominant, tall, homozygous. That's terrible. That's terrible. Okay. Oh, that was supposed to go here. And the reason that is, so what I drew as his support card was this one that has that de novo mutation symbol in the very bottom right corner. So that defaulted us to his action card to choose the gene, and that is a big T. So, yeah, there you have it. Okay, we're all out of actions. We have set the wheels in motion to go towards the end of the game. We're going to roll all the dice. And notifications. Oh, 2 of those are yellow. I hope they don't get repaired. Guess we will see in a moment. So we have 6 de novo mutations, 2 each for seed shape, pod color, and plant height, none for flower color. Let's see how many get repaired. All except for one of the green ones, one for pod color. So that's terrible for us. I wish we had a mutation thing that we could turn over. That would be pretty useful about now. So 1s and 2s are our heterozygotes, therefore seed shape, and our little 4 is the level R which we need. Okay, and then if we come back here to flower color, our 1s and 4s are homozygotes, and our 2s and 3s are our heterozygotes, and we have pod color, 1s and 4s are homozygotes, and 2s and 3s are heterozygotes. Everybody is homozygous dominant for plant height because, whoops, it doesn't really matter what that was. Johan's a big meanie. Okay. And so I have first shift here, so let's think about this for a minute. I need big G, little g. I need that one. Okay, so I take that and validate big G, little g. Okay, and then nobody has a second shift marker, so then I go first. So let's really think about this. I need this little r. I also need little f, and there's only one of them. So now we need to come over here and look at what Johan needs. Oh, he fully validated this plant. He needs to harvest that. He only has 2 plants. Oh, I skipped the Otama phase. Put a pause on. I got so excited about going into dice drafting. He is going to get more plants, and he's also going to validate. So he didn't have a first shift marker. We're backing up to the Otama phase because I skipped it because I got so excited about the end of the game. He is going to validate 3 traits. Because he has 3 assistants, that lets him harvest this plant. He's just a harvesting fiend. Remember earlier in the game when I said he wasn't harvesting very many plants? Yep, that changed. Okay, and then he is going to draw a pea plant. Let's move this down. And then he gets to draw a pea plant for every extra plot card he has, and he has 2, and he has 2 more spots in his garden, so he does get 2 more plants. So he will. He has a full garden now. Okay, back to where we were. I took my first shift. I have not drafted my dice to be able to, so I go first in the third shift because I'm the first player. And so let's see what he needs. He needs little r, but not this turn. This turn he needs little t, and big G, big G. I also need big G. I'm not going to be able to validate that entire plant. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to have 2 that don't get validated. Big G. Oh, there's no big G, little g. So I need, in order to fully validate that plant, oh, that's a shame, because that is going to make me miss out on one of those little r's that I have a research goal for. Oh well, not much we can, nothing we can do about it now. Because I couldn't predict the dice. I didn't know, Johann didn't do that until his last turn, so I couldn't go to university at that point because I didn't have any turns left. So anyway, he does need little r, so I guess I will take that. I don't need little g. So what was that? Little r. We will validate that trait. And then Johann, oh, I didn't shuffle his deck at the end of the automa phase. That's that. All right. So he has a single arrow pointing at nothing, but a double arrow pointing at big G, which I could have used, but oh well. He takes both of those and validates that trait. He does not have a de novo mutation symbol. I need that. I think I need that. I am going to come here and take this de novo mutation and take this little g that I don't need, and use up 2 dice slots so that I can validate this big G, little g down here. Okay, and then Johann's going to go, and his double arrow is pointing at little r. I'm so glad I took that, so that nothing happens there. Then big F, little f for his single arrow, so he'll take one of those and validate that. And then he has a de novo mutation die picture on here for plant height, but as we know, because I wanted one, there are no de novo mutation dice for that, so he will get a coin instead. For my turn, I need little f. So let's, oh, he doesn't need that, so I'm not as worried about that. Does he need, oh, and there's tons of big T. Not worried about that. So those are 2 that I need. I have 4 dice slots left. I also need big F, little f, so I will take one of those and validate that down here. So now that plant is fully validated. So now Johann's turn. He is double arrow pointing at big F. So there's only 1, so he'll take it and validate that trait. His single arrow is pointing at nothing and does not have a picture of a de novo mutation die, so that's good. Then I'm going to validate little f. I think, what do I need? And then I need big T, big R that don't have that. I'm not going to be able to validate that, and big F, little f. Oh, so I'll take big F, little f. Just, he's not going to take it anyway, but just because there's only one of them. Okay, and then Johann goes, his turn 4. So this is his last turn. He does have the 1 dice slot. So he wants little r. It doesn't exist. The double arrow is pointing at nothing. The de novo mutation die is green, but we took that one, so he will get a coin instead. I have 2 dice slots left. I'm going to take little f, use up my draft knife, and I'm going to take a big T for my final dice slot and fully validate that plant right there. Okay, so Johann has taken all 4 of his turns. I don't have any dice slots left. We are done with round 5 because we don't have a research upgrades phase. So now we go into, what we do go into is this harvest. So we can harvest anything that is fully validated. Johann, of course, does that as he goes. But I do have 2 plants that can be harvested. So there's one and there's another. Okay, and now we do point counting. So let's get a little cleaned up here because I just want to make room for, on the other side of the player mats, there is actually a place for us to keep score. All right, so this is just a regular player mat. And then on the other side there is a score tracker. So I will just keep both of our scores on the one score tracker. We'll just use our markers. Let me turn them over so you can see the colors better. Let's do Johann first so we know what our target is. So let's see. That's going to be 20. Let's get these cards out of the way. Okay, so that's 20. And then we have 12, 22 more. So we're up to 42. And 18 more. So 50, 60. So he's up to 60 points. So I'll put his marker here where there's that 50 plus, and then 5 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then he has 1, 2, 3. He has not as many coins as he usually has, just 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he has, for his incomplete plants, he gets a point for each one of these validated traits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seems to be a popular number for Johann. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for his research goals, so let's see, he's looking for green pods. Wow, he has a lot of green pods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and green pods are worth 2 points each. So that's 12 additional points. So he's up to 87. Now he's looking for tall plants. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he gets 8 points for that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then he's looking for short plants. Oh, I should have just put them into 2 piles had I really thought about that. Okay, he only has 2 of those. So the short ones are worth 3 points each. So that's 6 points for him. So he is up to 101 points for Johann. So we have to beat 101. There's his plants and his coins. Okay, so these are my harvested plants. I have 10, 20, 32, 40, 49, 56. So 56, and then for validated traits on my incomplete plants, I just have 2 of those. 1, 2, and then coins, I only have 1. This is not looking great for us. Research goals. All of mine are recessive, so I'm looking for wrinkled peas first off. 1, 2. I only have 2, so that's 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm looking for white flowers. 5 of those. That's worth 15. That's great. So I'm up here to 80. And then yellow pods. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow pods that I was able to harvest. So that's 12 more points, so 42. Well, almost close. So what did he beat me by? He beat me by 9 points. This is a hard automa. This is really a hard automa. What I really like about this solo game is that, as you have seen, Johann really does actions that mimic what players really do, right? They're taking dice you want, they're driving up the cost of stuff in the research upgrades, taking cards that you want, including the assistants, changing these parent genotypes. He thwarted us here by doing the plant height one, which made us unable to harvest this plant right here, which we would have been able to do if we hadn't had to take a de novo mutation for one of the G's. Of course, that's not his fault. That was just roll of the dice. So there is a little bit of luck involved with the roll of the dice, but honestly, there's so many of them, 20 different dice, that it wasn't very often. Well, there was no time when I couldn't fill up my dice slots. There was one time where I took a de novo mutation and just got a coin for it, but I did get something for it. So that's great. Some people have said that running the automa is fussy, but I don't feel that way. I will say the first couple of times I played the solo game, there was a bit of looking stuff up in the rules. But once I got really comfortable with the iconography, really almost all the information you need is either on his automa deck cards or on these other sort of aid, helper solo aid cards, I guess I'll say. The cardinal rules you kind of get in your head pretty quickly. What happens, it's all about the things in his garden, the fact that he can only have 4 plants and so on. This is just the setup. But these other cards, like I use the one all the time that's for the solo automa just to make sure I'm doing everything. Otherwise, I swear I'd probably forget to give him his 3 coins every time. I almost did one time anyway. But this tells you the different things that he does in each of the different phases. Now, there are some things that I had to look up the first couple of games where I couldn't remember, like, what does he do during the gardening phase? And, you know, what happens when, now I can't even think about it, but, you know, different things that happen in the working phase. But mostly it's straightforward, you know, going to university, going to the treasury, going to the nursery, the tool shed, the setting the research goals, the first shift. Yeah, there's really nothing that's fussy about running him. Now, you do have to count up his points at the end and keep track of his garden, but the fact that he harvests as things get filled up make this really easy to keep track of. The fact that he can only have 4 and they always fill from the top. I mean, there's a rhythm to his garden. So I think this solo AI is actually quite easy to run after you're, you know, the first time or two after you're done looking up rules. But he is hard. And so like I said, he has beat me all but 2 times. And I think I've played the solo game now, including this one, either 9 or 10 times. I can't remember. And I've only beat him twice. So it's kind of like those are pandemic odds, right? For those of you familiar with the game Pandemic. Anyway, I really like this game. I feel when I'm done with it and he has beat me that I think like I made so many mistakes in that last round. So maybe if I hadn't made so many mistakes in that last round, I think I was just getting tired and talking through my whole game, and I'm not quite used to doing that yet because this is my first real video for this channel. That maybe that put me off my game just a little bit, but I felt like I was doing pretty good for the first part of the game for the most part. It's just that last round I made some remarkably bad decisions, and that probably cost me the game. I might have been able to beat him if it weren't for that. So yeah, so that's the solo game of Genotype, Mendelian Genetics Game. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed the little bit of history that you learned about Mendel while we were going through that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!